Alright, here we go. Gonna do what I can to take off this neck. Start trying to separate the finish here. Gotta have some glasses, you know. Alright, I've had the iron on for about 10 minutes here. Let's see what it looks like. I did take and cut off some of the cardboard to make it a little bit easier to handle, and so the iron sat on there a little nicer. I'm gonna let this heat up just a little bit more. Probably heat up the knife too. Bends it a little bit, but that's fine. I'll be back with you in a few. We actually did warm up the knife this time. warmish. You can see I'm lifting it up some now. I really don't know what's underneath here. That's the real trick. Whatever this is glued with, it is sure glued on there good. Since I have no idea what's going on underneath here, I really feel like it's going to be best to take this spread out, and then I'm going to cut through with the handsaw, and then that way I can actually just glue this back on, glue it down at the end. I just feel like it's going to be way easier, and I'm going to be less likely to destroy, you know, the neck connection and all of that. So let's see if I can get this spread out. This is the 10,000th Stumac fret file or fret saw. So it should just fit right down in there, and we just do a little bit of sawing here. See the truss rod there. Looks like there's a little bit of spruce here that I was actually cutting through. That's the top of it there. Maybe you can just chisel that off. I still can't see really how the neck is connected there. course, we'll have to clean up all of this glue here on the edges and stuff before we put the neck back on and do all that. But you know, right now you can at least see the truss rod in there, which is kind of crazy, which means that it would have come out most likely with the fretboard extension on there. That's kind of how that came out. No, so that was a fretboard extension. So an extra piece of spruce there, or maybe that was maple or something. So that's that. And let me kind of sit down and kind of ponder this situation a little bit here and how we go forward, because I'm not real sure. Just a little bit more on this. I expected to see a rectangular block here, or a dovetail shaped joint here. You know, that's what you would drill down into, put the foam heater here, this guy, down in the hole, and heat it up, and then it would slowly but surely come off with a little bit of pressing from the neck removal jig. So I'll have to think about this. Alright, so I went ahead and I did the measurements on the amount to remove off the bottom of the heel, and I'll just show you really quickly what that looks like. Essentially, we're putting a straight edge on the frets here and measuring how far below the bottom of that rule there is below the top of the bridge. So if you look on this side, I have two little marks on the bottom there. The bottom one is the measurement that we're looking for. So next is going to be the length of the heel. So I measured from the top of the body here to the bottom of the heel, and that's the 3.725. And then the last measurement is from the end of the body here to the center of the saddle, and that's a little bit over 11.5 inches. So we come back here, we plug it all in, do the math, and I'll pause it right here and come back to you in just a sec with that done. Okay, so here's my numbers plugged in. X is the amount that we need to remove off the bottom of the heel to tip it back to give us the neck angle we're wanting. So there's the equation all plugged in. This is multiplying the top line, and then that's the final answer. And so if you look here, that's what we're wanting to remove from the bottom of the heel. And just for sake of argument, that's a Sharpie, so really not a lot. And yeah, that's where we'll go. So I am going to try and heat up this joint here to the best of my ability and see if we can't get it to disconnect before I go and saw off the neck using a flush cut saw. That's like the nuclear option, I guess. But if I can soften up this glue here around the truss rod and then down on the neck, I have a heat gun too that I can use. Just so long as I don't get too close with the heat gun and destroy the finish. But as we're seeing, this is kind of involved. I'm not so sure that this neck was actually meant to be removed. So definitely a learning experience here, and grateful to have it. So we'll see how it goes. Well, I wasn't sure I'd be able to do it, but sure enough, there's definitely dowels in there, and using the heat gun and the heated lamp to kind of get it heated up, and then pushing the I have a spatula tool. Where is it? A paint thing, and just kind of separating it. It's coming out. So let me put you on the stand. All right, so see if I can finish getting it off here. Let me work on this a little bit more off camera, and I'll come back to you in just a sec. Well, there we go, and I'm assuming it was hanging up on this part here. So I ended up pulling out the truss rod just a little bit, and that gave me just enough room to kind of get it out and pull it up. And I've already kind of nailed it or hammered it back in there, but actually I might need to, probably going to have to like hollow out this area here a little bit more than the way it was previously, and that way I can have the room I need to get it in there. Let it drop in and go from there. So yeah, that was challenging, but looks like it was really only glued kind of on the edges here. I don't know if the dowels were glued. Yeah, maybe they were, especially this bottom one. But we didn't lose too much wood, so that's good. And then let's look at the body. I should take you out of the camera holder here. So it looks like we may have charred it a little bit here on the edges, which I really hate, but as you can see, the plastic and stuff for the truss rod is still down in there. And that actually might have been what we were hanging up on. And then here's the back. Probably need to glue that back together. Glue it down. get it back ready to go back on. But yeah, not too much damage actually, thankfully. Definitely gonna have to clean out this plastic here. Somewhat coming up already. Yeah, it was definitely holding up on that plastic there. Okay, yeah, we got it now. Take these dowels off, and then I'll sand off 30 thousandths off the bottom here, and then, you know, constantly kind of refitting it. And yeah, we should be able to get it back in line. The dowels probably actually will help me keep the neck centered and straight, so it's kind of an interesting development. But yeah, that's where we're at.